God. Ask God.
What's up, Scott? My name is Dylan. I'm a seller from Phoenix, Arizona. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for all that you do for the TAS community. I'm a big fan of the podcast. I'm going to try to make my question as clear as possible, and I'm going to use the example that you use for the garlic press. So here we go. So my product would be comparable to something that you could say, let's say for this example that you can market particular garlic presses for men and women. So some people would have a title of garlic press for men. Some people would have a product that has a title of garlic press for women. My product would be comparable to something that you could market for stainless steel garlic press for men and women. And naturally, I have some competitors who can also do that with their product. But I have one particular competitor who, when you search for the keyword garlic press for men, it will come up as garlic press for men, and then that'll be his same product. But when you search for garlic press for women, it also comes up as his listing is garlic press for women with that same exact product. So my first question to you is, I'm wondering how he's doing that. Is he creating two different listings or two different SKUs? What's going on there? And my second question is, what are your thoughts on that strategy? And do you think it would be beneficial to deploy that strategy? Thank you so much again for all that you do, and I'm really looking forward to your answer.
Hey, Dylan from Phoenix, Arizona. It's kind of crazy because that's where our live event's going to be this year. So that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. So, okay, cool. Thank you so much for being a listener, by the way. I do appreciate you. And it's a great question. And Chris Schaefer and myself have talked about this, that when you have a listing, okay, and you can have two variations. You kind of have two listings in a sense, okay? You can still fill out your title differently. You can do the back end of that variation. And that's basically what you're talking about in this case, where if that one seller has two products with two different images in two different listings, right? Or variations. The variation is like a separate listing, but it's all under one listing, if that makes sense. Now you could do two different listings and then you could just target those people. And let me just kind of pause here for a minute and call a timeout. Okay. I'm doing the timeout thing like I've done in the past, like I'm in the game. Hey, coach, timeout. Let's talk about this for a second, because I think it's important for us to realize that if we can take a product in a market and if we can position that product for an individual, I believe it will perform better because we're niching down. So it's kind of like we talk about, like we've got the fisherman, and that's like a broad like market, right? But what if we went after the fly fisherman? Or what if we went after the deep sea fisherman? Yes, they may intermingle because they may be both of those people, but it's going to call out that one person at that particular time that they are looking for that thing, right? The other thing that it does for you is it allows you to also position that same product maybe to 3 or 4 different types of people if it helps those people. Okay, it has to help those people or has to pertain to those people. Okay, but I think it's smart. And I think moving forward, especially, with this whole update, and I hate bringing it up all the time, but it's kind of new and fresh. We kind of have to. And I think it comes down to, while we're picking products, we need to find products that are a little bit niched down. Like, take a category and drill down into that category deeper to target a more precise mark or a piece of the market. And when we do this, we're also going to probably see less sales being generated for that product, but we also then see that we have less competition for that product. We also, which is really important now, we have less competition for reviews. So again, if you were looking at products before that, you were competing to rank and you were also competing on reviews. So even if you ranked, that's great, but now once you rank, you have to convert. Well, if you're competing against 500 reviews and you only have 2 reviews, that's going to be harder hill to climb. But in this case, if we're going after a product that's niched down, targeting, a really precise part of the market, then we probably have less competition. And if that's the case, we have less competition on reviews. That means we don't have to do this review group thing that just happened, or that just kind of came about, that now all of a sudden everyone's in a panic. Well, if you find a product that only has 50 reviews on it and it's been selling for a year and a half, and you're seeing that it's getting 300 sales a month, I mean, common sense says, right, that makes sense, right? I mean, it makes it easier to compete now. All right. So, okay, let's get back to your question. And that was really like, how do you do that? If you have one that does target men and it does target women, should you put them under the same listing? And the answer is, it kind of depends, right? It depends on if you want to maintain 2 listings, or you could also try it both. You can try it one way and then try it the other way. So let's say you want to try it. I think the easiest way to do it would be to have one listing with 2 variations, and then just really optimize each variation for that that person or that market or that piece of the market. Okay. Now, if you see that that's not working, after a little while, and you wanted to close out one of those variations and start up a brand new listing, you could do that. Okay. So there's options that you have, but you're absolutely right in saying that you don't want the one listing to say, used for, or can be used by men, women, children, whatever, grandparents, that's just, to me, you're trying to grab too much of the market rather than niching down. And I think if we niche down, as people are scrolling through, they're going to, number one, see that, and they're going to also be drawn towards that. And you're going to also show up in different rankings for those keywords because you've targeted that person. Like if you're looking for a certain thing for a man, well, you're going to put in there, for grandparent, right? Or for, whatever, could be retired person, or could be, something for, something that caters towards that part of the market. It doesn't even have to be gender specific. It can be, if you're catering to lawyers, well, it's going to be, to lawyers. If it's going to be towards a fly fisherman, it's going to be towards a fly fisherman. You want that to be not as broad. And again, I think that moving forward is going to be critical. So hopefully this answered your question. Well, hey there. Thank you so much for listening to that episode of Ask Scott. Now, that was just a highlight from one of our full episodes where I generally answer 3 to 4 questions on a podcast. If you want to go back and listen to all of the past archives of not just the Ask Scott session, but all of the full episodes where I do interviews with top Amazon sellers, people starting from scratch and building a business, if you want to listen to any of those episodes, head over to theamazingseller.com and you can find all of that over there. You can also find details there on how you can ask your own question and get it aired on an upcoming Ask Scott session, and possibly see it here on YouTube or just on the podcast. All right, so definitely head over to theamazingseller.com. There's tons of resources over there for you to be able to build your e-commerce and Amazon business. So definitely go check that out. Now, I just wanted to remind you one thing before I let you go. There's a lot of information out there, and some of it is really, really good. What I want you to remember is you have to not just consume the information, you have to actually apply that information. So take this information that you learned here today and apply it to your business. And this way here, you can get results. As my shirt says, I wear it almost daily. Take action. We'll see you guys.